John Blair has been a very fortunate person because being a clerk in a Petty Sessions office in a small town in southwestern Queensland, I had the good fortune to be recruited by the Fleet Air Arm, the Royal Australian Navy Fleet Air Arm, at a time just after they bought HMAS Melbourne with their new generation of aircraft. I went from the Winjeel to the Wirraway,
Right.
then to the Gannet.
Yep.
Then when I came back from England, I had the Sea Fury, the Firefly, the Vampire, the Venom and the DC-3 and Gannets available on 74s.
I remember going to Albatross and we had a Vampire flying. Right? There was a couple actually.
Yeah, there were two.
So how many did the Navy have?
Two.
Two. Righto.
They had that as the jet transition to the Sea Venom, because they had to get the Vampire because the early boys that went onto the Venom were all Fury pilots, and so they had to do a jet course, and hence the Navy got two. They call them, they're now referred to as Sea Vampires, but they were just bloody vampires, the same as their RAAF.
Righto, because the Vampires, the Venoms that we had there weren't flying when I got there. Yeah. The Vampires were, the Gannets were all, the firefighters were destroying them.
Yeah. I had the good fortune to be recruited by the Fleet Air Arm, the Royal Australian Navy Fleet Air Arm, at a time just after they bought HMAS Melbourne with their new generation of aircraft, the Gannets and the Sea Venoms, and that was the start of my career.
Did we have, the Sydney was there before the Melbourne or at the same time?
No,
HMAS
the history of the Fleet Air Arm in Australia was that the Sydney was given to us about 1947-48 by the Royal Navy, and quite a few Royal Naval Fleet Air Arm personnel came out during the training of the Australian personnel. She eventually operated in Korea with #1 course pilots, naval pilots course, people flying Sea Furies and Fireflies, and the British assisting in numbers. And she was relieved at one stage by Vengeance, who was on loan to us. But subsequently, Melbourne had been laid down in 1944 at the time, and she was supposed to be a straight standard Majestic class carrier. But with the new design and equipment that was available at that time, by way of design I mean the angle deck was incorporated, and the mirror landing aid was the equipment that removed the batsman, and Melbourne was fitted out with the new configuration for the operation of jet aircraft and the Gannet aircraft that were the new generation of aircraft coming along with her.
Okay, so in your progression through the Navy from that point in time?
Well, I was fortunate enough to be pulled out of Mitchell in southwestern Queensland, where I'd been literally chewing the end of a pencil for 3 years to find a way out. So this direct entry into the Navy became a very fortunate opportunity for me, and in fact changed my whole life because I then was recruited by the Navy, spent 3 months in recruit training down at the Flinders Naval Depot. We were then, the pilot trainees were then handed over to the RAAF and underwent flying training on the Winjeel in particular as the basic aeroplane, and the old World War II Wirraway as the advanced training aircraft.
And what year was the Winjeel, John?
I started flying in 1955. It had been in service for a few years. It had been built by the Commonwealth Aircraft Corporation, CAC, as to replace the Tiger Moth, which was an open cockpit aircraft, and this was an enclosed cockpit with side-by-side seating, which facilitated the training of the pilots. The trainee pilot, the trainer was sitting in the right-hand seat and the trainee pilot in the left-hand seat. So it was close proximity. So it was a pretty handy type of aeroplane for basic flying training. Not really manoeuvrable to any great extent. One could do some form of aerobatics in it, but it was a good, safe aeroplane and tail well configurations, so you learn to fly the tailwheel aircraft.
And your progression from there?
From there, we were given 100 hours on the Winjeel. I'm sorry, I think it was about 50 or 60 hours on the Winjeel. And from there, this is with the RAAF at the Uranquity. And from there, we went down to Point Cook to the advanced flying school, where we went up to the bigger aeroplane, the old World War II Wirraway, which was a bit of a handful for people like ourselves, but it was a jolly good training aircraft, and once you got to handle it, you could quite enjoy it.
Okay. And then from then on?
Well, in my case, the 3 naval pilots that graduated out of the initial 33 Navy recruits some months beforehand, and with the RAAF, I think we were a course of about 25 or 26, and only about 13 or 15 of us graduated as pilots. The 3 Navy pilots, that was Jim Campbell, Graham Faulkner and myself, we were finger pointed to go straight to the UK to fly the Gannet and do a year over there training with the Royal Navy. So what happened, we got our wings in August of 56, went straight to Nowra as acting sub-lieutenants, did a quick Gannet conversion there, and in December we were on P&O lines travelling to the UK to go to Eglinton in Northern Ireland to do our anti-submarine training on the Gannet there. And if you know anything about Londonderry in Northern Ireland, it was the home of all the submarine and anti-submarine warfare for the UK during World War II, and it looked after the whole North Atlantic area. All the submarines operated out of Lockfoyle, and the RAAF had Shackletons in my time based there, but during World War II they had other types of aeroplanes. And the Navy had a base with very, very, very short runways at Eglinton, and that's where we were sent to train on the Gannet.
Did we have, the Navy had Gannets at that particular time?
Yes, because I did a Gannet conversion at Nowra.
At Nowra.
Melbourne was out here, and the Venom and the Vampires were being flown by the Royal Australian Navy at the time that I graduated. She'd done at least a year in service, I think. I'd be corrected on that. But they were certainly operational.
So we've had Gannets and then Vampires and Venoms in Australia there.
Yes.
So you transitioned eventually from the Gannet to Venom Vampire?
No. My aeroplane forever was the Gannet. And I came back from England in late '58. I joined 816 Squadron in '59 as a sub-lieutenant junior pilot. Graham and Jim and I were the 3 most junior pilots under the command of Digby Johns, 816 Squadron. And that's where I spent all of my operational time, on 816 Squadron, either at Nowra or on the carrier, with some months of relief from time to time to a second squadron, 724 Squadron, 74 or 75 Squadron. But I initially did 59, 60 and 61 operating on and off the carrier in 816 Squadron.
So while you were there at Nowra, what other aircraft were acquired by the Navy?
There was no other aircraft acquired at the time that I came back from England. They had 2 Sea Furies on 74 Squadron or 75 Squadron. They had 2 Sea Furies, 2 Fireflies, 2 Vampires, several Venoms, I can't recall the number, quite a few Gannets and a couple of DC-3s.
So what year was that with the DC-3s?
That would be 59 when we came back from England.
And they were there then?
They were there.
Were they anti-submarine aircraft or transport?
No, they were just being used on an ad hoc basis. They were being used to train observers. They had 6 or 8 desks inside that they'd take trainee navigators up and fly around for hours and do training our own navigators. They were used for general purposes to fly the captain from A to B and VIPs and things like that, and any other drudge work that had to be done.
I might be missing something, but there wasn't that many aircraft in the Naval Fleet Air Arm as such. Were they all still on the Melbourne, or they transferred them to Albatross?
Well, 816 Squadron always had 10 Gannets. That was a fixed squadron. There would have been probably at least 6 Gannets on 75 or 74 Squadron, on the holding squadron. There would have been similar numbers of Venoms, because the 805, 808 Squadron always had 10 aeroplanes, and again 74, 75 Squadron always had about 6 Venoms, with the 2 Vampires and the 2 DC-3s, and then the old Sea Furies and Fireflies, 2 of each, were there and still flying. We used to put them out on the line and go and fly them.
Yeah, okay.